I don't normally like to do the same type of video too close to each other, but recently this video came out, another like anti-woke thing, but this time it was personal because we got a guy ranting about how my favorite franchise ever, the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, is woke and that's a bad thing. Hey everyone, my name's Christian Verstappen and I have a lot to say about many things. I've made it very clear that I am a huge fan of the Sonic franchise. I mean, my favorite fictional characters in general are Sonic the Hedgehog and Spider-Man, probably in that order. Um, but you know, the energy, the stories, the lessons kind of learned from these characters and things like that are they stick with me to this day. I have held on to a lot of like I guess you could say, you know, teachings and things that I've learned from those franchises and those characters. And something that I've noticed is, you know, I wanted to do, and I might do a video on this as well. Kind of like the idea that I've noticed the Sonic fan base kind of seems to like, in a way, lead people to be more progressive. People that are a part of the fan base just tend to be more progressive. Not everybody, but it just tends to kind of be that way. But and kind of how I personally avoided the chud side of like video game stuff back in the day. But I'm rambling here and giving maybe too much of a preamble. To get into it, there was this video a couple weeks ago released by this person where it's titled "I Just Don't Trust the Sonic Franchise," and it was made by this person, Silas OS. Now, to their credit, so here's the thing. Now, people have been saying that apparently, like around the 14-minute mark, things get weird. And actually, I know that because I know Xander Hall had talked about this as well. And when I saw him talking about it, I was like, all right, what is this? And then I checked it out, and I was like, all right, I definitely have to talk about this because this guy Silas here is going after my boy. He's going after my franchise. My like, I live and breathe. I from the age of like 7 plus, I like lived and breathed Sonic the Hedgehog. So like, Zan even said himself he didn't really know anything
A
about
few months
Sonic
ago, I
apart from like memes and stuff. So this is what the thumbnail looks like now. By the way, oops, it looks like this. Originally, it looked like this. Not that it really matters. This, by the way, real quick, was taken from Oh, this is episode 1, actually. I think of the Shadow the Hedgehog Dark Beginnings, which is a little animated series that's made to promote the Sonic X Shadow Generations, which I'm very much looking forward to. And this game, or this um, little animated like series in general, has made me and a lot of other people in the fan base really want an animated Sonic series that looks like this and is this tone and everything. And God, I wish. So we have here. This is from the Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, Sonic the Hedge jerk. But whatever. This isn't the Sonic the Hedgehog subreddit, though I've seen it there too. The first half is fine, complains about meta error and balding nose hair, blah, blah, blah. It takes a hard right turn in 14 minutes. Now, I know when Zan covered this, he didn't talk about all the stuff before, so I want to tackle all of this and just, see what I have to say about this. What I do want to give credence to something. It seems like this guy is legitimately a fan of the Sonic franchise. I mean, like a lot of these videos are things that look like stuff I would watch. Um, Sonic's character problem. We're front of this awful Sonic tier list. Was Sonic Colors actually good? A little Sonic Colors review, which yes, it was good, but a little bit overrated back in the day, but still really good. Don't get me wrong. What would make a good Sonic? All this stuff. Like, so he's 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 done a good job, I think, like doing this. Or I'm sorry, I don't know if he's done a good job because I haven't seen his videos, but he clearly cares about Sonic. So I don't think that he's necessarily some like anti woke grifter kind of. He might be, I don't know, but I don't think that's necessarily his bag. I think he just legitimately cares about Sonic and has this bone to pick with diversity, and we'll get to it in a minute here. So without further ado, let's let's just get into it.
If you're a Sonic fan, you may have noticed
That's
that
me.
since about 2020, Sonic has been doing pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
at least when compared to the previous decade.
Look, ramps!
We can use these as ramps!
Sonic Frontiers was a big win for us back in 2022. Sure, the game was unpolished in a couple of places and was definitely rushed over the finish line to make its release date, but there's no denying that the new open zone format created in Frontiers was for sure the best way for Sonic to move forward. Frontiers finally gave us a blueprint for Sonic, and this time, Sega planned to stick to it. Speaking in an interview with Sector, series director Takashi Iizuka said, "Just like Sonic Adventure, our goal for Frontiers was to create a game that would be the cornerstone of future Sonic games." Sure, that may seem obvious, but keep in mind that this—
All right, I will say just real quick about like my Sonic credit, if you will. I haven't played anything since Lost World. I didn't play. I didn't play. Generations is my favorite. Because it like mixes classic and modern together, and the mods are just incredible. But Lost World, yeah, Lost World was the last one I played. I didn't play Rise of Lyric. I didn't play Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. I didn't play. I haven't played any of the new games since 2013. I would say because I understand that people loved Sonic Mania, and that's great. But personally, it was just retreading like old stuff, and I was like, I don't need this, man. I want new stuff, you know. If I want the old classic Sonic games, I'll play the old classic Sonic games. I want. Eventually, I will play Sonic Mania, but it kind of has a bit of a, not the best taste in my mouth. But yeah, so I wasn't really into that. And Frontiers, I played it for like I think 20 minutes or something, and I just don't like collectathons. I really don't like things where you're just like running around collecting shit and you're not like. I like simple, linear, get to the end of the level kind of games. Those are my bread and butter. Those are like the kind of games that I love. My favorite genre are platformers. I love, I love action games where you're getting to the end of the level and fighting like enemies and stuff in your way. But I don't like collectathons or games that you really have to like explore and shit. Like it's just not my cup of tea. So personally, I really don't like the direction that they went with Sonic Frontiers. That doesn't mean it's bad or anything like that. It's just not my cup of tea. So I'm not familiar with that. But I mean, like, I'm very familiar with the lore and the franchise and the state of like the fan base and stuff because I watch things like As I Have, even in my thing here. Okay, I already know that I really hate how there used to be a time where you could go to someone's channel and there would be like a little section that said like where you could like put affiliates or something. Now I guess you don't have that as a tab. It's only down at the bottom, and I see clicking view all doesn't actually let you like open up to a new thing. It just has a stupid little box. Okay, I don't like this, but whatever. Change is inevitable. Where are? Oh, here we are. Okay, so I listen to the Sunset City podcast, a Sonic podcast for the classic and modern age. So I've seen a lot of. I am not sharing my screen. There we go. The Sunset City podcast, hosted by originally. Okay, it doesn't matter. And I'm familiar with a lot of that fan base. By the way, one of the people that used to be on this podcast was Cirrus Skeptic, or I think he just goes by Cirrus now. But I'm sure I'm sure there's a lot of overlap with our fan bases with that. But yeah, no. So like, I really like Sunset City. I've followed the stuff with them in general. Hellfire and Brain Scratch do a lot of stuff with Sonic. I follow a lot of things with Sonic, even if I haven't personally kept up with the newer games because I don't want to play them. I'm more familiar with like the lore, the franchise, the fan base, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just putting that out there to mention that I don't really know about Frontier specifically. It wasn't my cup of tea, but or Mania for that matter. But in any case, moving on.
This is the same company that went from Sonic Generations in 2011 to Sonic Lost World in 2013. 2 years. 2 years between those games. Look what happened. Story-wise, Sonic has been floundering for years. Ever since the 06 Backlash. And we've just been stuck with the same corny cartoon writing for years now.
Baldy nose hair! That's the best thing I've heard all day!
Of course, Sonic was never a super serious series, but it used to take itself at least a little bit more seriously back in the day.
I think the best term that I've heard for this before and would agree with is it had more of a level of sincerity. And I agree. So far, I agree with this take. I was not a fan of what is referred to by fans as the meta era. Hated it. Me personally, when it comes to any kind of superhero action adventure type of stuff, I like it to be like more along the lines of like Justice League the animated series is a great example, but like the DCAU or Avatar: The Last Airbender, maybe like Teen Titans 03 or Danny Phantom or something like that. But like this era, and we got Sonic Boom as well, the TV show, and the games, of course. It was too. My issue was not the meta. My issue was the corny, like. It felt like Sega constantly. I think a better like term for it is kind of the self-deprecating thing. See, in the mid 2000s, and yes, what this guy's talking about here with Sonic 06, with the huge backlash of Sonic 06, and even Sonic Unleashed, which was a much better game, from the 2010s and on, Sega started trying to do damage control for their reputation. But the way that they tried doing that was by really kind of, it felt like what they were doing was they were going to make fun of themselves before someone else could make fun of them. And then that makes it okay because we're self-aware. We know it. We know this product sucks, or we know like all these different, and it's like, dude, that's not, it was extremely, it was really sad. It was really sad to see like as a brand, as a fan of the franchise and everything. But yeah, this era was absolutely not my cup of tea. It was definitely like more geared toward kids, and I understand that like yes, the Sonic franchise is a family-friendly franchise. It is going to lean a lot toward children. That's fine, but like it doesn't. Sonic has always kind of skewed older, especially like in Japan, where Sonic's originally from. The franchise was more marketed toward like teens, so it always kind of skewed a little bit older and would be more that kind of like action adventure kind of thing. I would say a good way to like look at this is kind of like the 2010s Sonic was kind of like Teen Titans Go, whereas the new Sonic, or sorry, the like Sonic of the mid 2000s and such, was Teen Titans 03. That might be a good way some people might understand it. It just became way too cartoony and stuff. And I think the height of this was when Sega made Aaron Hansen of Game Grumps their brand ambassador, where Aaron actively hated Sonic and constantly went out of his way to make every game look bad, like all the time. He absolutely should not have been the ambassador. I don't remember the person's current name who's the ambassador, but they are much better for the franchise, the brand, everything than Aaron Hansen ever was. He should not have ever been the person. But I think a lot of that the ambassador. But I think a lot of that really just goes to show the mindset that Sega was in at this point, where Sega and Sonic Team, where they again, it was self-deprecating. It was really sad.
And give us stories with a bit of soul, rather than Sonic facing every threat with an MCU-esque quip up his sleeve. Frontiers finally found the tone Sonic fans had been asking for, and all we really wanted was just a bit of thought put into this stuff. The characters stand on their own and actually experience emotions in a realistic manner, and Sonic is a little...
Yeah, Sonic Frontiers is weird though, because like, yes, they like expressed more emotion like with their words and everything, but they just stood around. And that's been an issue since Sonic Colors, where so many of the cutscenes are them just standing around. Maybe they'll occasionally like fold their arms or something, but like yeah, it's not great.
More mature, mainly in the sense that his demeanor does change depending on the situation. He's more tactile, which I get is a low bar, but when you look at what we've been stuck with, yeah. If I had to pinpoint exactly how the tone of Sonic has shifted, I'd say it's leaning more into its shonen roots. I mean, especially when you look at all of this.
Yeah, and there are great videos on this too about how Sonic the Hedgehog was always shonen. Completely agree. Yeah, Sonic is more shonen, less Looney Tunes, and I feel like a lot of the kind of like American version of Sonic has been kind of lean more into that Looney Tunes aspect, and that's not what Sonic ever was. I much prefer the like shonen version, if you will.
Don't you just love that? It's not gone full teenage shonen. I'd say it's...
Oh well, I should clarify here. So I say that's not what he ever was. What I mean is like, okay, so the brand and the franchise of Sonic has always been like kind of all over the place forever. Yes, there was the Looney Tunes slapstick kind of cheesy bullshit, in my opinion, version of Sonic with AOSTH in the early '90s. But there was also Sat AM, as fans know it to be called, also in the '90s, and those two shows kind of ran concurrently. But there was also Sonic Underground, and then in the 2000s we got like, yes, we started to get like darker, well not darker, but I mean yes darker, but more sincere stories and characters and such, like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, and then we also got Sonic X, and we got all these different things that continued on. But it's just the I'm not sure where I'm going with that. The franchise there have always been people who have like kind of thought of Sonic as like, oh, it's just a cartoon. It's like this cartoony, like, I don't know. They think it's more like, well, like SpongeBob rather than Avatar: The Last Airbender, to use Nickelodeon as an example again. And I would say Sonic was always closer to Avatar than it was SpongeBob, but there was this like idea in the like cultural zeitgeist, if you will, of that Sonic was like, oh, it's just a cartoon, it's just like a lame thing for kids or whatever, and it's like, no, it's not. It's so much more. There have always been parallels to Dragon Ball Z and Sonic. Obviously, Super Sonic is an easy one, but yeah, Sonic is definitely shown, and I would agree with that. So I mean, so far I agree with this guy, but apparently, I know it does take a dive at 14 minutes, so let's just enjoy this while we can.
It's more in line tonally with Avatar: The Last Airbender, which
I legitimately did not watch anything before the 14 minutes. Like, I watched Zan's video on this, and that was it, and I knew, all right, I need to talk about this. But I did not know he was going to compare to Avatar. That's amazing.
is exactly where Sonic should be when you consider the mass age group appeal The Last Airbender has. But let's not make any rubbish live-action Netflix adaptations, okay? We can avoid that. So on the game side, Frontiers does seem to be...
I'm going to let that one slide because while I thought it was okay, and I don't think that's like he's necessarily doing the like anti-woke thing or whatever with Avatar there. Knowing what I do about how he goes into the video later, it might be part of it. But no, the live-action Avatar was not great, like, at all.
Be the answer to our prayers, setting up a new gameplay foundation and beginning to heal the damage that years of mischaracterization has done to Sonic and his friends. Now, continuing this upwards trend, we're even getting a re-release of Sonic Generations with a new Shadow story included. It seems to be...
We are. Sega is finally embracing that. Okay, so here's one thing, right? Now, this is something I've noticed about nostalgia and kind of wanted to do like a broader video on in general, but like, nostalgia, every like 20 or 30 years, nostalgia always kind of like comes knocking, if you will. So like when I was in the 2010s, the classic fans were being pandered to relentlessly with things like Mania, with classic Sonic and Sonic Generations, although I do really like that, with the constant reuse of like Green Hill Zone and Chemical Plant and like all this stuff just over and over again. The classic fans were constantly being pandered to. Now that we're at a point where like my generation, who grew up in like the 90s, and well, who grew up in the 2000s, I was born in 97, but I grew up in the 2000s. Now we're having a point where it's our turn to have that nostalgia. And I want to be clear, personally, I don't want nostalgia to be pandered to, but we are definitely going to be seeing a resurgence of like a lot of 2000 stuff in general, because it's my generation is finally at that age where we're going to be pandered to. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to everybody. If you haven't been pandered to yet for nostalgia, your generation is going to be pandered to. Everyone's generation gets pandered to. It happens every 20 or 30 years. And I mean, the cynical way to look at it is, oh, well, these companies are just trying to make money. Yes, that's obviously why it happens. But I mean, there's something cool to and nice to kind of like look back on and be like, oh, like this thing that I cared about is like being remembered. That's why we're having like the live action Avatar and Percy Jackson and all these different things coming about, and the Sonic movies and all this stuff, because it's time for the 2000s to be pandered to a little bit. And you know what? I'll accept it. I'll enjoy it. I'm not above it. But yeah, so I really like that they are going a direction where like they're finally caring about Shadow again. For so long he was just like this cringe edgelord because that's what the memes made him to be, when that was never what his character was meant to be. Sorry, I'm losing like my train of thought here. Sonic X Shadow Generations in general looks like it's going to be incredible. Like I said, Dark Beginnings was really good as well. Highly recommend watching it if you haven't. But anyway, I mean, like I said, so far I'm agreeing with this guy's takes and everything, so we'll see how it keeps going. But again, I know it takes a dive, so we're just we're building up.
Sonic's equivalent to Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, like getting a whole new story.
Also, Mario 3D World. Like I said, don't like collectathons. I know a lot of people did not like Mario 3D World because it wasn't like, well, it wasn't a collectathon. That's what I always wanted from a 3D Mario game. That's what I want from any transition of a 2D to 3D character platformer like Mario or Sonic or anything like that, where you're literally just taking the same game and transferring it into 3D. That's just what I've always preferred. It's also why I always said that Sonic did make a better transition to 3D than Mario, because Sonic's core gameplay of just getting to the end of the level while going through obstacles and beating badniks and all that stuff stayed true, whereas Mario had this like sandbox playground, run around and do the same level over and over again to get different stars. Never liked that approach. One of the reasons I always preferred Sonic. Yeah, so anyway, that's why I'm not a big fan of Frontiers. I don't like collectathons. I don't know what to tell you. I want to give him another chance again someday, but in any case, like I said, I agree so far with this guy.
Story dedicated to Shadow is a godsend, if you ask me. Shadow has
Did not like Bowser's Fury either, though, because it was, again, just kind of like running around, like doing stupid shit, collecting stuff, waiting for Bowser to like break something so you could move on. It wasn't my cup of tea. But anyway,
hasn't been well written since Sonic Heroes, and that came out in 2003.
No, that's not true. I didn't mean to pause it like this. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to do this guy dirty. No, that's not true though. Shadow was written well in Sonic 06. It's like his best written like version of himself ever, actually. So I don't know what this guy's on about.
Bloody hell, I came out in 2003. That's how long it's been. Shadow the
Does he mean he was born in 2003, or he came out as like being gay? Considering what he's going to say later, I don't think it's going to be he came out as gay or anything, but he's born in 03? All right. He's got 8, 9, 2000, 1, 2. He's got 6 years on me. Dude's 21. All right.
the Hedgehog, the game, basically backtracked on his character development over Sonic Adventure 2 and Heroes by regressing him back into being torn up over Maria's death, despite the fact that he had already made peace with it by the end of Adventure 2. The negative backlash to Shadow the Hedgehog, and of course...
Well, he lost his memory. Which, fans did criticize this stuff to an extent back in the day, but I mean, at least the stories were told with more sincerity. But the thing is, okay, so, I don't know if it was different for this guy because he's 6 years younger than me, apparently, but, I remember what it was like in the 2000s as a Sonic fan and the 2010s. It was not a good time. It It was not a good time. We were made fun of. Like, I remember one of the reasons that I really got into YouTube and stuff in general was because I found Let's Play channels of Sonic games where they actually like appreciated and like talked positively about the games and like gave trivia and just kind of like and their experiences and stuff. And it was the closest thing I had to like, it's sad to say, but you know, in a lot of ways it was the closest thing I had to like friends that shared my interest as far as video games go. Like, you know, I'd always had friends that shared other interests, but I never had friends that like shared my interests for like with video games and stuff. So it was really cool to find these Let's Play channels and stuff, which I think is a big part of how I avoided, I guess, the alt-right pipeline and stuff like that through gaming content, because the stuff I liked was people, you know, doing reviews and commentary of like Sonic games. I mean, not just Sonic games, but a lot of what I watched was, you know, Sonic games. And they just happened to be more left-leaning. It just kind of was the way it was. Not everybody, you know, I know, you know, like I said, like, I'm not saying everyone who's a fan of Sonic is some like paradigm of progressivism or whatever, but Hellfire Comms, Brain Scratch Comms, Super Gaming Bros, like, you know, and their affiliates, FTCR, like all of them, they were Great Clement. Yeah, they were all pretty cool. So I don't know, but man, I'm telling you, I'm not trying to do this guy dirty with these pauses, I promise. But you know, Sonic Adventure 2 became polarizing for a while as well. I remember Pro Jared did a video about Sonic Adventure 2, and it wasn't good. But you know, my point is that like this guy seems to have this like view that Sonic was like really well respected and such in the 2000s, and the backlash started in like the late 2000s. No, like, I know there's this huge like anti-woke push against the what is it called, against IGN and gaming journalists in general now, but as a Sonic fan, I don't really like gaming journalists either. They consistently reviewed like every Sonic game as bad just because it had the blue hedgehog in it, and it was really sad. It was like we had a joke in the Sonic fan base: you can't spell ignorant without IGN, and it just was what it was. You know, like we didn't like really them or GameSpot. I mean, GameSpot was better, but you know, and I think that's part of well, I know that's why I especially turned to like Some Call Me Johnny, and he's my favorite video game reviewer. But not so much, you know, Angry Video Game Nerd, because he didn't really talk about games I cared about. But like, I mean, Some Call Me Johnny was the main one. I can't really think of any like big reviewers specifically. I mean, now there's like Radical Soda and stuff, but back then it was really just Johnny. Now that I think about it, and then a bunch of other channels for Let's Plays, like I mentioned. But yeah, but it wasn't perfect. It was not a like this golden age for the Sonic fan base or anything.
You know, Sonic 06 has sort of put Shadow into purgatory.
Like the stuff that I liked and everything, and even the Let's Players that I watched and all that made fun of like a lot of the edginess and stuff, but no one ever like outright hated the franchise or anything because of it. So, you know, but yeah.
Ever since. He was stripped of any depth and turned into a caricature of himself. Flanderized, for lack of a better term. It felt like Sega just wanted to use him as a meme for how edgy he is, and it became stale rather quickly.
Yeah, again, it's the self-deprecating, let's make fun of ourselves before anyone else can make fun of us, yeah.
Just boiling his backstory and history down to just, ooh, look at how broody he is. But since Shadow Generation's narrative has been put together by the same story team as Frontiers, I think we're about to have Shadow's character rehabilitated by the time the credits roll. And
yes, so to be clear, Ian Flynn, who has done great work on the Sonic Archie comics and is now writing the Sonic IDW comic, well, actually, I don't think he's on the IDW comic anymore. I think there are some other people that kind of like trade off, but he did some work on IDW for a while. He's writing the games now, it seems. He did Frontiers, and he did the writing for Sonic X Shadow Generations, apparently. He's great. Like, he's a great writer. He understands these characters. He has love for these characters. He's great. So, things are definitely looking up now, I think, as a Sonic fan. But they weren't perfect in the 2000s. I don't know if this guy thinks they were, but anyway.
Thank God for it. Using a generation's re-release as an excuse to send Shadow on a whistle-stop tour of his life and show us how the Shadow of the present faces his demons of the past is an excellent way to not only set the continuity of his life in stone, but also to show us who he is with the added context of the more recent games he was a part of. The greatest benefit to this is that there's a whole new generation of kids that are into Sonic thanks to the Sonic movies. They've either only ever been exposed to Shadow's blanderized 2010s character, you guys remember Sonic Boom, or maybe even just as a side character in a racing game, or the Mario and Sonic Olympic series, which they never should have cancelled, and that's why this Olympics, the Paris 24 ones, they suck. They're going on right now, they suck because there's no Mario and Sonic. Anyway, Shadow is in dire need of reintroduction.
Yeah, so fun fact on that, by the way, I don't think I touched on this at all. But so this is funny because I know a certain amount of where the Olympics were taking place because of the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games. Which, by the way, yes, when we say we want, when Sonic fans, Mario fans, anyone says we want a crossover Mario and Sonic game, we don't mean fucking Olympics. We want a platformer. You know what we want. Everybody knows what we want. That said, I know that it was the first game, or in 2008, that the Olympics took place in Beijing, because that's where it was in the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games, and 2010 was Vancouver, and so on and so forth. I know London was 2012, and that's about where I stopped. But the reason that they're no longer making Mario and Sonic the Olympic Winter Games is because apparently the Olympics, the people that work with, would be in charge of and giving license to use these characters in the games, want to focus on NFTs and other stuff. I don't know why. NFTs are pretty much dead, so and they're not good. But yeah, so no more Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games, or at the Olympic Games in general. Does that mean we're ever going to get a proper Mario and Sonic platformer game like many of us want? I don't know, but say bye to the Olympics. Corporate greed, gotta love it.
And it looks like that's actually happening, and all signs are pointing towards him taking his place as a proper pillar of the Sonic franchise, and it's about time, seeing as he's been so popular for so long.
He's only the second most popular character in the whole canon.
That's true. That's a good line from Eggman. Yeah, that's true. Shadow is the second. Well, I mean, yeah, he's the second most popular in the entire franchise. Yeah, no notes. I personally, I preferred, so Shadow was my favorite character growing up too, until about 2008, partly because I went back and started playing the older Sonic games, but also because Shadow wasn't being used anymore. He wasn't in Unleashed. He was in Black Knight as Sir Lancelot, but he wasn't, Shadow wasn't actually in it. He wasn't in Secret Rings. He was in the party mode of Secret Rings, where you could play him for the Mario Party ripoff thing, but, he wasn't, actually in Secret Rings. He wasn't in any of these, yeah, so, and it just kind of came to the point where I was I think I relate to he was barely in Sonic X, all these different things, and eventually I got to the point where I was I noticed that Shadow's barely in anything, and also I think I relate to Sonic more. I think his vibe and stuff just kind of, I relate to that more, so I don't know. But, while I try to be a, I don't know, fun, confident, person who will help anyone out and stuff like that, like Sonic, I'm also definitely very brooding and get depressed sometimes too, like Shadow. So I don't know, take it as you will, right? But in any case, moving forward.
Let me get you a chair, Mr. Shadow.
We're even getting a cool.
So I do want to be clear about this as well, by the way. While I personally did not like the Sonic Boom cartoon, as a whole, the clips, I've seen a lot of clips from it where I'm this is really good. Not so much that I want to sit through a whole episode of it, but yeah, the clips are pretty good. I like them. Kind of similar to the Sonic Shorts animations from Newgrounds, which, if you're a Sonic fan and don't know Sonic Shorts, you got to check that shit out. That's awesome.
Well, 3 episodes.
Very much of its time though, started in 2005 or something. It really helps if you're a fan of the franchise to get the jokes. They're definitely made by Sonic fans for Sonic fans, but Anyway, I'm sorry. I do want to be very transparent about this. Like I said, Sonic's my favorite franchise, and I'm 100% using this video as an excuse to just like gush about my love for it. So I hope you'll bear with me throughout all this. I know we'll get to a point where we'll get to the actual meat of everything here, but I'm just having fun right now. I like going through this, and so far I'm agreeing with this guy. So we're kind of we're kind of edging ourselves before we get to the part where it's all just gonna blow up.
Anime seems to be getting a little darker to help flesh out Shadow's backstory and his relationship with Maria. It seems like Saga definitely sees that we want the series to embrace the shonen side of things.
God, this is so good.
I'm kind of excited for this fight. Looks cool. We've got a third Sonic movie.
Oh, he made this before the or the Dark Beginnings, even before Episode 1 was released. Interesting. Okay.
The way, adapting the plot of Sonic Adventure 2, so, that is even more Shadow. Honestly, when you look at where we started with the Sonic movies, it's crazy that we're about to get our third one. The first two movies grossed $720 million between them, and it all started with this abomination.
Oh my god, yes.
Meow?
During our Sonic...
Jesus. Okay, real quick.
$720 million between them, and it all started with this abomination.
If this is what... Okay, so two things on this. One, I want to be clear. If this is the Sonic we got, the movie series would not have continued. It just wouldn't have. It just wouldn't have. But I want to be clear about this too. A lot of people think, oh, this is a great example of fans coming together and standing up and getting something changed. This had nothing to do with the fans. The reason they changed it was because they got backlash, not from the fans, but from the normies, from the average person who didn't even know about Sonic, but also agreed, yeah, this is shit. Because you have to think, like, look what Michael Bay did to the Transformers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Was there insane backlash from that? No. I'm sorry. What I mean is, did those character designs get changed before the movies released? No. This right here was always... This is so much a product of its time. Like this is exactly the kind of thing that you'd expect from a team of movie execs that just want to make a product that has Sonic in it, but doesn't really respect the brand or the character or anything. I want to be clear, even the first movie in general, like, it's a perfectly fine family road trip movie that happens to have Sonic in it, but it is not a Sonic movie. The second movie is a Sonic movie, and the third one I hope will even be more of a Sonic movie. I have my nitpicks with the second one and from what we've seen of the third one so far, but most of it is nitpicks. I am very much looking forward to the series, and just looking forward to see how things go in general. But let me be clear, this getting changed had nothing to do with the fans. This is because of the normies. Don't ever delude yourself into thinking that fans have that much power. We don't. We don't have that much power over anything. The normies have the power. That's just how it is. Now, again, if the fact that they corrected course so much and now they are embracing more of the lore of Sonic and everything is great, but this was not ever about us. This was about the normies.
Meow?
During our Sonic story drought, everyone looked to the comics for some proper Sonic adventures and character writing. Now we have confirmation that the IDW Comics run is canon to the game timeline, and we even have Ian Flynn.
Yeah, honestly, here.
The man
Ian Flynn, the cool dude I was talking about, a huge fan of the Sonic franchise, really respects the character and stuff. The problem, though, with the IDW comics being canon to the Sonic games is they are so pigeonholed by Sega and Sonic Team, constantly telling them, like, oh, well, you can't write any characters, or you can't do any, like, big stories that really shake things up and change things, because what if we want to make it into a video game? What if we want to do this? What if... It's kind of like what Warner Brothers does with Joker, except at least DC is still allowed to use Joker in the comics and stuff. But it's the reason why, like, in Gotham, for example, Joker couldn't be called Joker. He had to be called Jerome and then Jeremiah, which, in my opinion, by the way, Cameron Monaghan is the best live-action Joker we've ever had. I know people love Heath Ledger, and he was great, but I'm sorry, Cameron Monaghan is just... He had that perfect balance of, like, zany craziness while also being just a sadistic, like, awful person. But anyway, my point with that was, yeah, it wasn't, like... I don't like, I guess, that the... Like, I thought I was going to like that the IDW comics were canon to the franchise, but it's really held them back more than anything, and it's really sad. Maybe if we got to see adaptations, like Sonic Frontiers adaptation or something, that would be good. Sonic Mania, like all these different things. But no, we don't get that. We just get fucking, bullshit. And they're like, oh, well, you can't tell a real story because what if you want to use it in a video game? It's like, fuck off. Like, seriously, what are you doing? But anyway, just like I said, I'm using this as an excuse to just talk about everything I love and don't and hate about the franchise because I really want to. Like, I really want to.
behind the comics on the game story team. It's really all coming together for us. Ian Flynn is kind of like the Dave Filoni of Sonic, because they both wear cowboy hats. I don't know why.
The who?
What's with cowboy hats in these people? Except Dave Filoni sucks and...
Well, to be fair, Ian Flynn might be wearing the cowboy hat because Knuckles iconically wears the cowboy hat in the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie. For those that don't know, there was an animated Sonic the Hedgehog movie simply just called Sonic the Movie, which was originally it's an OVA, but it was originally it was supposed to be a couple episodes and it was supposed to continue on. But it was just made into a movie when it was brought over to America. And there's an iconic point where Knuckles wears a hat. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, he has a hat. Isn't that nice? And there's also a part where it's on fire. Let me see. Yeah, it's great. I love this franchise. And by the way, this type of what they did for which was kind of an adaptation of Sonic CD as well. This was more in line with what I'd like to see for the Sonic franchise in general, I would say. But because it's like it's got those goofy elements and stuff, but it's still telling a pretty sincere story and such. So I appreciate that.
should be fired along with the rest of Lucasfilm, but I'm getting off track here. Don't get me down that rabbit hole, because I will never come back. I'm sure by now I've made my point, that things are going well, but I really want to make sure this is hammered home. So I'll shine some spotlight on Sega's improved attitude towards feedback. Now, at some point, Sega realized that social media is hammered.
What was that about Lucasfilm?
What's with cowboy hats in these people? Except Dave Filoni sucks and should be fired along with the rest of Lucasfilm, but I'm getting off track here. Don't get...
I don't know who Dave Filon is. But again, judging by what I know about his takes on what's it called? Well, I guess wokeness and stuff in general, as we'll get to here. I think I know why he doesn't like him or Lucasfilm in general.
Get me down that rabbit hole, because I will never come back. I'm sure by now I've made my point, that things are going well, but I really want to make sure this is hammered home. So I'll shine some spotlight on Sega's improved attitude towards feedback. Now, at some point, Sega realized that social media can allow them to directly engage with the people who buy their games. You know, from people simply tweeting or Xing their opinions online, or YouTubers making detailed videos on their feelings about pretty much every nook and cranny of the Sonic series. There's no shortage of perspectives for Sega to take into account here. Unfortunately, they only seem to have picked up on this recently. But hey, better late than never. I mean, how can you miss Fidel? He's literally everywhere I go on Twitter. I do miss Gobarman.
I have no idea who this Fidel guy is. Every time I hear about Fidel, I think Castro. Like I've looked up like Sonic Fidel. I've tried to find who this Fidel guy is. People will just casually talk about him, and like on Sunset City, for example, I'm like, oh yeah, someone from Fidel, and I'm like, who? What? Fidel? I have no idea who that is. Like I still don't know.
5-6 though. Seriously, for a good few months after Frontiers released, if you even breathed an opinion on Frontiers, the actual director of the game, Morio Kishimoto, would be in your replies. He was always saying something like, this is an interesting idea, we will take it into account going forward. Thank you for your feedback. I'd say one of the most consistent complaints about Frontiers was how the platform challenges in the open zone areas did not blend in at all with the environment, and players just couldn't get past how they were floating there and sticking out like a sore thumb.
Well, one of my biggest issues too is because once again, they just reuse a bunch of old levels again. You have these moments where you go through cyberspace levels, and it's just reusing Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, something else, something I don't remember or care. Sky Sanctuary, I think. It's like, come on, dude. Like, this is like, we're so far removed from Generations at this point. It's just the constant repeating levels is insane. And it's more about the aesthetic to me than anything else. Like, you can keep the level layout, but at least change up the aesthetic, for the love of God.
My thumb isn't sore. I don't know why I showed you. The biggest tweet regarding this referenced how platforming in the open zone should be handled like that classic Sonic CD opening from all the AMVs back in the day. You know, where the pathways were carved into the cliffs themselves, and actually
God, this intro went so hard.
Into the terrain. Pretty much everyone who played the game was thinking this.
Sonic game intros in general have always gone hard. I don't know when they stopped. Maybe 06? You could technically say, well, Unleashed intro went hard, but that was the opening cutscene, and it did go really hard, but not the intro itself. It didn't have an intro. I think I think Riders, and then yeah, I think Riders was the last time that there was a real intro. Wow, that's insane. Huh.
And there he was, Morio Kishimoto, in the replies, letting us know he is
Well, Sonic Color. No. Sonic Colors had one. It was a pretty good intro. Yeah. Okay.
going to take this feedback into account for the future. And God bless him for it. Honestly, having my biggest complaint about Sonic Frontiers publicly addressed on Twitter by the director of the game was pretty gratifying and was a really refreshing and reassuring feeling after feeling negative about Sonic for so many consecutive years. Sega's new direct approach is far better than where they used to get their feedback from. Game journalists. Game journalists suck. We all know this, and for too long, Sega turned to their reviews for suggestions on what to do with Sonic, which was, an ill-advised plan, considering none of the reviewers even like or know anything about Sonic.
Oh my god, this. Oh, this moment lives in infamy. Like this moment lives rent free, and like this is like traumatizing for us fans.
I think we're at a point where we need to admit that this was never really a great franchise, and that we keep trying to find this thing that was never really actually there. Sonic was never good.
They never had
That's like our Vietnam or something. Like, it's fucking Christ.
any idea what Sonic fans wanted, and are objectively the worst way to relay information about what
the
fans
hell
want
happened?
to any game company, considering the fact that all game journalism outlets made direct enemies of the fans years ago and sacrificed all of their credibility. I'd much rather Sega listen to the community directly, and it's nice to have community figures like Fidel and other YouTubers to directly channel those voices, rather than the brainlets at IGN or Kotaku. Even as I was making this video, he got another win caused by fans being vocal. Enough of us commented how we, like to have access to the Japanese box art of Sonic X Shadow Generations, and hey, they made it happen, thanks to the social media team letting them know that people wanted this. And an update again, we got another win provided by the social media team. Because of the re-release of Generations, everyone was worried that the Steam and Xbox versions would be delisted, specifically the Steam version, because there's 13 years worth of mods built up on that thing, an amazing testament to the passion of the
He's
community.
right. One of the reasons I love, like I said, one of the reasons I love Generations so much is because of the mods. Oh, I'm glad he put his little face cam thing up here rather than down here, so I don't have to move mine. Thanks, buddy.
In the mods for Sonic Generations. It truly enhances the product and makes it so much better. And of course, we were worried that the original Generations would get delisted, and that might affect the mods. The mods might go with it, and future people would not have access to the mods that many people have worked so hard on. But hey, the official Sonic Twitter account put out a tweet letting us know, yes, the original version of the game will be delisted, but it will still be available in a legacy bundle that they're putting together. So you will be able to purchase it as part of a bundle, which is better than nothing. And the main thing that they confirmed to us...
Yeah, it's really gross that they keep delisting shit like this, but like they delisted all like Sonic 1, 2, and 3 and Knuckles because they wanted people to get Sonic Origins, which was not great, but yeah.
directly is that mods will
It's shitty, scummy, fucking corporate capitalist bullshit. You guys know how it is.
be affected. And this was done as a direct response to the feedback they had received from us worrying about what would happen to the mods if Generations was delisted. And they're going to be fine. Good news! Just imagine something like this happening in 2015. It just would never happen back then. Wow! Silas, that's
Probably not, yeah.
a lot of good news for Sonic fans. I'm sure you're happy. You must be feeling confident about the future going forward. I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. I'm still not convinced. I'm a tough man to satisfy. What can I say? Now, this attitude comes from recent lessons I've learned, where certain announcements were made about a thing that I like, a thing that hadn't been good for quite a while. And these announcements convinced me that it was going to be good again, only for it to turn out to be worse than
Doctor Who?
it had ever been before. And all of my excitement, turned into a profound period of classic British depression. A lot of my
So I don't know much about all I know about Doctor Who is that I watched the seasons with Matt Smith. Well, up until Amy and Rory died, I couldn't like after that I was like, I don't think I can handle this. Like I don't think eventually I want to like pick it up again and maybe even try when David Tennant was on or something. But I couldn't. It was too like cheesy Power Rangey special effects for me to like the stuff before Matt Smith. From Matt Smith on, it got better. It was much better and more like higher production quality. It wasn't as campy. It had camp, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as like the effects weren't as cheesy and stuff. So I could do it. I could deal with it a lot better. But yeah, Amy and Rory dying broke my heart, and I tried to continue, and Lily Collins' character came in, and I was like, "You're not Amy or Rory." I was like, "I can't do it." But I do want to give it a shot again. I know that there was like a Sonic Generations type thing where at one point all of the different, I guess more of like a Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions kind of thing, where like all the characters met each other again or something in like a Christmas special or something. I don't really know much about Doctor Who. I know about it more through cultural osmosis than anything else. But yeah, like I said, I want to give it a shot again at some point. But yeah.
Doctor Who related bitterness is going to seep into these scripts for quite a while, by the way. So get used to that if you plan on sticking around. But let's get on with things here. Back to the supposed upward trend that I mentioned earlier. It began with the movies. I'm sure those were financial hits and good publicity for the brand. But let's not forget how
God, this is so bad.
things started here. Remember this design? It was just pure insult to injury, considering the wasteland that was the Sonic franchise at the time. Regardless of the fact that the movie design was fixed, and fixed quite well.
So much better.
to be honest. It's clear the Sonic movie wasn't made by a team of fans. It was a harmless buddy cop movie that just featured Sonic. Yes,
Okay, well, yeah, okay, I agree. This is like what I said.
Jim Carrey was good, and yes, James Marsden radiates intense DILF energy. But there was no love for Sonic in this project. I mean, dude, just look at it. Just look at it. No fan would have ever allowed this design to get out. A design that would have had to go through many stages, many stages of approval, by the way. Now along comes the second movie, an even bigger financial success and relatively well received by fans. Now lessons were learned here, and there's a bit more in the ways of iconography and reverence for the Sonic series. Knuckles and Tails were designed well the first time around, but no one is going to make that mistake again. And the Death Egg robot looked brilliant, actually. It really did. And of course we had some interesting Echidna lore and Super Sonic, which is cool. I like him. He's cool. But I gotta say, all of this is pretty surface level and still feels like they're just using Sonic to push an otherwise unremarkable family movie. Except,
I would agree. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Especially because, like, they didn't have 7 Chaos Emeralds, it was just the Master Emerald. And the way Eggman even made this Death Egg robot here, this is not... this is not... He, sat with the Master Emerald and, brought, machine parts around him to build this, rather than, actually built it. It was like, well, what is this? Yeah. Like I said, there are nitpicks and there are issues that I have with the movie series in general, but they're not the same as what this guy has. We're almost there.
Well, it looked brilliant, actually. It really did. And of course we had some interesting Echidna lore and Super Sonic, which is cool. I like him. He's cool. But I gotta say, all of this is pretty surface level and still feels like they're just using Sonic to push an otherwise unremarkable family movie. Except, this time they did a little bit more Google searching about the Sonic series. And its core, Sonic 2 suffers from having the DNA of the...
To be fair, that's more than Ken Pontac and Warren Graff did when they were writing Sonic. They literally just read, the Wikipedia, and that was it. It's like, you guys, you don't care about this character at all. You didn't do any... By the way, I will say, I know a lot of people make fun of this idea of, higher fans and stuff like that, but the Sonic franchise has always been a great example of fans making better content than official content, and fans just being, for years, fans have made better fan games and so much other stuff that... And, Ian Flynn was a fan before he became an official writer, same with Tracy Yardley, who redesigned Sonic. Yeah, so, yeah. Sonic is, the one example where, the higher fans thing is legitimate. Oh, Christian Whitehead and the entirety of Headcanon, created Sonic Mania, and before that, they had made Sonic before the sequel and after the sequel, 2 very well-received fan games in the community. So... yeah, no, the Sonic franchise, and again, the mods and everything, the so much fan projects. I want to be clear, this golden age that the guy was talking about in, the 2000s, that didn't exist. If it weren't for the fans, this Blue Rat would be dead. He would have died years ago. We're the only thing that kept it alive, because Sega certainly didn't. Yeah, it was bad. It was not good. It was not a good time. But things are getting much better now.
Where Sonic ends up with a human family, he has a bedroom in their house, and stays put in Green Hill, which really doesn't suit the free spirit of Sonic the Hedgehog at all. Speaking of his human family, there's an...
Yeah, I really don't like what they've, okay, I've talked about this before, but right, I always want adaptations to stay true to the source material, and what I want for adaptations for Sonic is, go through and adapt, all the games, give the first couple classic Sonic games a real story with real character and action events and all this stuff, and go into Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 and Heroes and all that, and clean up the lore and make all of this a continuous running series. That's what I want for a Sonic franchise. But for a Sonic adaptations and a movie or a TV series. But like I always say, while I would want adaptations to be a certain way, that's not how they are. Adaptations change things. It is what it is.
Irritating focus on humans, 3 subplots that just have no right being in a Sonic movie. Again, it just feels like Paramount is using Sonic to push a generic family flick. Not to get too much in.
Well, yeah, they're making it... Again, it's the same thing with Transformers. Why they focused on Sam and the girl that Megan Fox plays. What's her name? Maggie? Sarah? Samantha? I don't remember her name. But it's why they focused on those characters. It's why Sonic X focused on Chris Thorndike in the Sonic in the Sonic in the 2000s. This era of Sonic this guy seems to love, there was, let me go ahead and pull this up here. Here. Wait. It doesn't have Chris. Oh, it put Silver in. Silver was not ever in the franchise, unfortunately. Or the series. Sonic, come on. Thank you. So Sonic X was it was an anime, and it was, brought over to America and other countries in 2003. And there was a character in this so we have Shadow, we have Cream, we have Amy, Sonic, Knuckles, Rouge, Tails, like all these characters, right? Eggman back there, his little Eggomatic, that's what his flying machine is called. And, we have, come on. We have his robots. Oh, we only have Deco here, no Boko. That's interesting. Anyway, we also had this character, Chris Thorndike, who was the butt of every Sonic joke, like throughout the 2000s and the 2000s, because nobody liked him. He was just this annoying little brat that nobody liked. But the reason he was put there is the same reason that the Wachowskis are put there in the live-action Sonic movies, to give the audience a surrogate. That's what these things do. Like, that's just how it goes. It might not be what I would want, but I get it. It is what it is. That said, I do hate Chris, and I'm very glad that Shadow beat him nearly within an inch of his life in the anime. Yes, that did actually happen. Sonic X, by the way, is a better example of what I personally would want in Sonic adaptations, by the way, because throughout Season 2 of Sonic X, they adapted Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. They kind of adapted Sonic Battle and a tiny bit of Sonic Heroes later as well, but generally speaking, it was and I would prefer if they kept going and continued adapting the games, but that's not what they did. And once again, it is what it is. So, but I do want to say the idea of Sonic like coming from another world and all that stuff, that came from Sonic X more than anything else. I mean, in the Archie comics, the like overworlders, I think they're called, or underworlders, whatever, the humans are in this like section kind of in like the middle of the earth where they've like developed a city for themselves and everything. But in Sonic X, just like in the Sonic movie, Sonic and friends are from another planet. And I like that thing. I like do that and continue the adapting stuff and show how things work. Even with these movies, personally, I would have preferred if we had an adaptation of Metal Sonic and Sonic CD before we got straight to Sonic Adventure 2. I would have preferred a Sonic Adventure adaptation going in the order of the games. But again, it is what it is. I can want something different and still respect what currently exists. And I think that's an important thing people need to do in general with these kind of things.
Into it. Although I will get too much into it, modern movie production is flooded with DEI requirements, meaning on-screen.
All right, this is it. We had our fun. I got to gush. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Diversity has to be forced unnaturally into every project, and it's pretty hard to pull that off in a movie that should be about Sonic characters. This results in completely intrusive and movie derailing subplots, such as that whole wedding storyline being used as an excuse to shove as many humans in as possible just to meet some stupid diversity quota.
No. Okay, oh god, I disagree with that entirely. Can the humans be annoying? Yes. Was the wedding scene terrible? Yes. Was it because they're black? Or, I'm sorry, DEI, as these people like to say? No. They could have been pasty white. They could have been, all straight cis dudes. Could have been whatever. It was just an annoying scene. It went on for, 5 minutes. It was annoying. But it wasn't there for the fans. It wasn't there for us. It was there for the general population, the normies, the people who brought their kid to see Sonic because they're a fan of Sonic or they saw a cute animal on TV or something. It wasn't for us. Not everything, and especially when you have... Okay, this is something that I think fans of nerd culture stuff need to understand in general. When something goes mainstream, and this is true with bands and everything too, when something goes mainstream, a lot of people will say like, oh, they sold out, right? When something or someone goes mainstream, it will have broad appeal, and that means that it is either going to have to sand down or just remove or change things that might have appealed to you specifically that just don't appeal to the mass public. Because when you're developing a product and you're putting it out there, like, I agree that focus tests and stuff, testing groups and stuff are really annoying and all that, but, you know, it is what it is. Once again, we keep coming back to it is what it is, you know? Yeah. But no, people didn't dislike Rachel and such because it was a black woman. People disliked her because she was annoying. She could have been anything. She was just an annoying character. Like, nobody liked her. Same reason we didn't like Chris. Chris was a cis-het white dude, or rich white dude, and we didn't like him because he was annoying and he took away from the character thing. But I disagree with this idea that, like, well, they wanted to put DEI in it. And sure, maybe they wanted a diverse cast. That's not a bad thing, first of all. But I strongly disagree with the idea that they put humans in it so they could have DEI characters. No, it's more that they put human characters in it to appeal to the broad public, and then they decided, okay, what do we do to appeal to the broad public even more? We have more diversity, so it appeals to more people. Okay, so what? Who cares? This guy,
The
apparently.
sequence of Maddie and Rachel fighting gun agents reeks of studio-mandated empowering moments. If anyone is fighting gun agents, I want it to be Sonic, not two random women who have nothing to do with the games. The funny thing is, if DEI really has to be pushed here, gun agents are the best way to do it. There's so many of them here. You can just meet all your quotas through the agents, and they did make them diverse. But maybe they're just not allowed to have too many diverse people as bad guys. I can't believe I'm talking about woke Hollywood in relation to Sonic, but that's the word we...
Who does quotes with one finger? You did two. Because it's like you're writing the quotes. Who does one finger quotes? It's so weird. Anyway.
Living today. I'm sorry if I upset you here. I'm not actually. This is a Paramount-made movie. Remember that. The same company that's still allowing Alex Kurtzman to control Star Trek, despite the fact that he made Star Trek Discovery. Did you see the Sector 31 trailer, by the way? So
I don't know what this means.
Sonic Movie 2 is more respectful, but the whole thing
Maybe Steve Shives has talked about it. It's Star Trek.
stinks of, modern Hollywood. This is best exemplified by the fact that the music is mostly generic nonsense, made by Junkie XL that pays no homages to the soundtracks of the games, which is a massive part of Sonic's identity. And let's be honest...
I agree. Yes, it is a shame that we don't have real Sonic music in the Sonic movies. But again, it's not for us. Like, as much as as nice as it would be to really have something that caters to fans of the franchise, it's a product. It's made to appeal to the most amount of people as possible. Not you and me.
The soundtrack is the only thing that allowed the series to survive.
Now, that doesn't mean we can't still enjoy it and find things we like about it. And it also doesn't mean that we can't find things we dislike about it and have a right to critique it accordingly. But DEI, like, is that really the direction we have to go? Why is it always that? Like, it's like this dude literally just saw an annoying character, saw that they were black, and was like, oh, it's DEI. It's like, no, dude. It was just an annoying character. Could have been anything. Like, what the fuck? What is this?
The 2010s. Junkie XL used Ant-Man and the Wasp music for the Sonic versus Knuckles fights. And for some reason, after he did that...
No. He used, like, orchestral whatever kind of music that was the same type of music in both movies. Because that's what they do for these types of movies. Because Sonic... I don't know... it's weird, because, like... I agree that, yes, Sonic is shonen, but there's not really, like, a Western, like, understanding of that type of thing. I would lump Sonic and stuff in with, like, superheroes. But, yes, that's what they do for this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that's how it is.
They still signed him on for Sonic Movie 3. Oh, and did I mention he's talked about using AI to make music?
Well, I can be very short. I love AI. I embrace it. I can't wait.
Look, from what I've heard, Junkie XL is not a great dude. Sunset City has talked about him briefly. But okay, whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know what all this is about.
Until there becomes like a functioning software program where AI is really like integrated in the music making process.
Lovely.
I don't like AI myself, but I also wonder what he means by this. If he means, like, I don't know, prompts for, like, lyrics or something, I'm fine with that. But I don't know. I don't. Does he mean, like, generative AI? Like, what does he mean by AI? I don't know. I don't know. I have a like finicky relationship with AI, I feel, but in any case.
It really speaks to his quality as an artist, doesn't it? Something like the Mario movie was admittedly very light on narrative, but in every aspect and tiny detail of the movie, you could feel the reverence towards the Mario IP.
No, it is true that the Mario movie absolutely stayed more true to the source material and pleased fans a lot more than the Sonic movies did. That is a fact. And on that front, it was better. But I will say, as a narrative, the Sonic movies were better. Sonic has always had a better narrative in general, though, so, take that as you will. But yes, this is the kind of thing that I would like to see from a Sonic movie, something that is more like the Mario movie rather than what we're currently getting.
Especially,
and there is, people have been saying, and I kind of agree with this, that or hope for this, I guess, that like this Sonic 3 movie might be the last movie, and they might go the direction of like the Mario movie moving forward. That's what I would really hope, or like just scrap it and start over and go the direction of the Mario movie. That's what I would prefer. I do think that this third movie is going to be the last Sonic movie, but just in general. But yeah.
In the OST, which is just composed by Koji Kondo himself, so it bypasses the risk of turning into generic Hollywood
Wait a minute.
IP, especially in the OST, which is just
Is he gonna get mad about this?
composed by Koji Kondo himself, so it bypasses the risk of turning into generic Hollywood gobbledygook entirely by just bringing the actual guy in. We can hope that the Mario movie may have positively impacted the development of the third Sonic movie, since it grossed $1.36 billion worldwide and was the most profitable movie of 2023.
Wait, yes, it probably was, but okay, the cycle, and it kind of happened with Sonic as well. But let me see here. The cycle of the Mario movie was so wild because I remember there's like a 3-hour video on Geeks and Gamers that was complaining about, let me see if I can find it here, about the Mario movie. Let me sorry, no, is it Geeks and Gamers? No. I think it's Geeks and Gamers. Yeah, this. Okay. Well, that's only 7 minutes, but there was like a live stream where they did this long ass discussion on Peach. They were really mad about Peach. Peach Skywalker, they call her. They're trying to say she's like, I don't know, woke because she's not wearing her dress, which personally, I much prefer this outfit. I'm not a big fan of like foofy, frilly dresses anyway. I don't like any clothes that like take away from the silhouette of somebody's body, but that's just me. Yeah, let me see here. Mario movie Peach. People were so mad. Peach reaction. People were so mad. Wait, how do we do this? Peach woke? I don't know. Woke Peach. Yeah, like... Is this from Shark 30? Hell yeah. You guys should subscribe to him if you don't, if you're not already. Yeah, no, there was this huge, like... Oh, was it Tim? Was it fucking Tim Pool that did the Peaches woke thing for so long, half an hour? Yeah, people were really mad about this image of Peach here. And what was hilarious was once the movie did really well, all these chuds started coming out and saying, "Oh, the movie actually did so well because it's anti-woke." It wasn't anti-woke. It was just, it wasn't woke or non-woke. It was whatever. It was a whatever. It was a fine, like I would say it was pretty close to an apolitical movie actually. But everything has to be one extreme or the other with these people. So, but a funny thing is, a similar thing happened with Sonic's own movie, with the first Sonic movie, where it was basically like, do you want to see the libtard feminist Birds of Prey, or do you want to see the Sonic the Chad Sonic movie, some shit like that. It was like, let's this is a big thing. Yeah, like world-class bullshitters, clearly some like anti-woke kind of person. Geeks and gamers, yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog destroys Birds of Prey. Because the whole thing was, oh, Birds of Prey is this like feminist propaganda, woke SJW kind of thing, and Sonic isn't. And it's like, look, huge fan of Sonic, went to see the movie, loved it. Well, yeah, didn't love it, but liked it. But it's just like, it's insane how these people will do this shit with this narrative, right? It's just, and now you have this guy saying the Sonic movies are actually woke because it has black people. It's like nothing these people say means anything. Like what is this? Nope.
Bypasses the risk of turning into the third Sonic movie since it grossed $1.36 billion worldwide and was the most profitable movie of 2023. So, you see where respecting the IP can get you? Listen, I am very interested in the idea of a movie adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2, but since this will have the same DNA of the first movie that plagued its sequel, and seemingly the same creative team as those two movies, I'm remaining cautious here. What I'm getting at is that Sega
I'm cautiously optimistic as well. Probably not for the same reason this guy is, though.
is allowing this to happen. I understand that the movies are good publicity and they make good money, but this isn't really Sonic, and I wish Sega cared more about that fact. I don't want them to be complacent just because of those healthy box office numbers, and perhaps that attitude might just end up spilling over into the games. Because let's be real, Sega's track record with successful Sonic is just, bad. I consider Sonic's first objective win to be Sonic Frontiers, so that's a little under 2 years ago, at the time of making this video anyway.
I would say culturally, yes. And when I say culturally, I mean like what the general public consider, like he's generally considered good by the public. Since Frontiers, yes, I would agree with that.
The first two movies don't count to me as the return.
A lot of public goodwill is the best way to say it.
Everyone's talking about. I see them more as Sonic breaking back into the zeitgeist of the new generation, regardless of what image is being projected by those movies. Yes, Frontiers is a fun game, it's definitely a great foundation to work off, and the way Sega has engaged with the feedback to the game has been encouraging, but again, this is the same company that went from Sonic Generations to this. The same game company that let Sonic Boom happen, showing that they hadn't learned.
No, it is true. We did have this same feeling after Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations that, yeah, Sonic's back, it's going to be great. And then we had Sonic Lost World, like, right after. Well, actually, we had Sonic 4 Episode 2 right after that, but then we had Sonic Lost World. And then Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. And it was just downhill from there again. It was like, we had a few good years. We'll see how it goes. How it goes now.
A thing from the disaster Sonic 06. They didn't learn from that. Again, it's not even been 2 years since Frontiers. Anything could happen as far as I'm concerned. We did get Sonic Superstars, which was overwhelmingly mediocre. When I think of the word milquetoast, I think of Sonic Superstars. Sega actually had the gall to charge 50 great British pounds for this thing. Sonic Mania is a far better 2D Sonic game. It looks better and has superior level.
Is this guy British? I mean, I guess it would make sense for the Doctor Who thing, but he sounds American, doesn't he?
Design, and it released at the price of £15 off the King's money. Americans, you can do the transfer rate. I'm not going to do it for you.
Oh, I guess
I'm
it's
pretty
not.
sure Superstars wasn't done in the pixel art style purely because Sega wanted to find an excuse to overcharge for it. They were sort of like, look guys, it's 3D. That makes it more expensive. And they wonder why the game didn't meet their sales expectations, huh? So Sega's greed hasn't been cured, and it probably never will be. Being owned by a pseudo-gambling corporation isn't doing it any favors. This is the same greed that led to so many Sonic games being rushed to the finish line, leading them to being critically lambasted, and rightfully so.
Yeah, so I will be clear on this too. Yeah, Sega Sonic Team is basically partnered with I don't remember what it's called, the company that makes Hello Kitty. And they also had some pretty bad anti-union practices, some pretty bad like things with encouraging gambling and addiction and stuff, with like gotcha machines and all kind of things. So Sonic Team and Sega are not perfect companies. I don't mean to like, put this idea that they are. But while they can be criticized for things like that, and they can be criticized for, the, what do you call it? How they've handled the franchise and stuff like that over the years, and even criticizing the movies with how it could do more to stay true to the games and stuff and do more for the fans. Yes, there is legitimacy to those critiques, but being mad that there's black people, like, come on.
And ultimately pushing Sonic deeper and deeper into the deep, dark abyss of irrelevancy. Sonic Frontiers sold great, but how will Sega react to that money? We know the Sega plans to make Sonic a yearly franchise, which could be a little worrying. Now, I assume this yearly schedule includes spin-offs developed by other teams, so I think we're in the clear when it comes to this issue. But even if Sonic Team is using Frontiers as a template going forward, how do we know Sega isn't going to rush them to finish it just because of how well Frontiers sold? Do the high
So, okay, so this is something too. Sonic games have been rushed for a long time, and I'm of two minds about this, because on one hand, I think that a big problem with a lot of, okay, so again, something I want to do a more in-depth video on at some point in the future. I think a big problem with a lot of really just media in general these days is it takes too long to make anything, because everything has to be like so big and spectacular. You can't have like AA games anymore. You can't have, like, there was a time where there was a new mainline Sonic game every year, which is part of the reason I love the franchise so much. There was so much of it to consume. There was a time where like movie series would take like 2 years to come out. I mean, each Harry Potter movie and Lord of the Rings movie came out like 2 years within each other, as opposed to we have like 5 years between movies now, and it's insane. Seasons of TV shows used to be like, the reason they're called seasons is because it used to be that they would go for a season, take a few months off, and then come back. Now a season goes for like maybe 8 episodes if you're lucky, and then it dies for like 2 years and comes back again. It has like promotional material for like a year and then finally comes back, and it's just another like 8 episodes, and then it leaves again for years, and it's like, dude, what, like, it takes forever to make anything now. And I think a lot of that has to do with everything having to be so like super big and spectacular and stuff. And don't get me wrong, the Netflix model of making content and stuff doesn't help things. The fact that everything has to be bingeable, because it's like nothing has time to grow and like build a fan base and everything. And game companies aren't any better with this. Square Enix like destroys things if it doesn't perform as well as Final Fantasy, basically. Like, there are problems with all this stuff, but you know, these are problems with corporate greed. These are problems with like, you know, well, I mean, corporate greed really is the answer for all of those things. Yeah.
higher-ups just have it in them to wait on the payday. Looking at their track record, it seems like they don't. If you remember the interviews, Sonic Frontiers itself barely got itself over the finish line in time, and Takeshi Iizuka had to fight hard for the 1-year delay. Can you imagine the state of Frontiers if it didn't get that extra year? I love this game, but in the final quarter of it, you can so plainly see that the dev team were desperately trying to wrap this project up in time for release. That's from the higher-ups of just a couple of years ago. The ones who almost let the game come out a year too early, which would have left us with yet another disaster. That wasn't 2010 Sega, that's Sega quite recently, Sega 2 years ago. For all we know, the next Frontier-style game could be pumped out.
Frontiers. Okay, this is another thing too. Games are also released in an unfinished state still, and Sonic Frontiers was an example of this, because there was, and still is, horrendous pop-in when you're in like the main, not hub world, but like the main like grassy area and the islands they're called. Yeah, I mean, like, there are problems with all this stuff, but DEI and wokeness is not the issue here.
Far too soon, in hopes of another Frontier-sized payday, landing Sonic fans with another stinker, and we end up right back where we were in the 2010s. So no, I don't trust Sonic yet. Maybe when the next open zone game drops and it's as good as or better than Frontiers, I might be on board. But even then, I imagine I'll be a little hesitant to drop the "we're so back." I'll need to see this trajectory maintained through to the end of this decade, and then I'll feel okay giving the series my full confidence. I get that you may see this as a little extreme, but being a Sonic fan throughout the 2010s was a rough time that I can't easily forget. It'll take a lot to counteract that.
Yeah, Sonic had a rough transition to the 2010s, right?
I suppose a lot of this cynicism comes from the fact that I've had literally everything I love burned to ashes. Star Wars is dead, Star Trek has destroyed even its cult following, let alone any hope of mainstream appeal, and Doctor Who just produced the worst season of television I've ever seen in my life. I've been burned by a lot of things, and I'm not...
I've watched a decent amount of Star Wars stuff. I played the Lego games and a few of the other video games, love The Force Unleashed, but I'm not aware with why... I know it's like anti-woke shit again with Star Wars, but are there reasons, for any Star Wars fans, you know, in the comments, let me know, are there any reasons other than that people think Star Wars is dead? I mean, it seems to be doing pretty well, and while I didn't like... Well, I liked The Force Awakens. I fell asleep during whatever the 8th movie was, and I never watched the 9th movie, but I liked Obi-Wan. Everyone seems to like Mandalorian. I don't know what the issue was with Star Wars, but or Doctor Who for that matter. So you know, if people are fans of any of that other stuff, I can clearly, you know, talk forever about Sonic, but and Spider-Man and a few other things, but I don't know that much about like Star Wars and stuff, so you'll have to enlighten me if you could in the comments or what have you. But yeah.
Looking to get hurt again as a Sonic fan. You can label me a hater for not being too positive, but I'm British and no one does misery like we do. We're world.
So I will say there is this like toxic positivity mindset in the Sonic fan base where people think if you critique Sonic at all and everything, then like you're a hater. I don't agree with that. That's something that Sunset City pushes back on a fair amount. But I mean, the dude makes good points, but like that little tirade about DEI was so unnecessary.
World class at it. I do want to cap this off on a nicer note, however. I love Sonic. I love it enough to make this video voicing all my concerns about the future of the franchise. All of this comes from...
I do agree with that if you love something, you should be able to voice your critiques with it. This is similar to people who are like, oh, you hate America. It's like, no, I love this country, but there are things that can be changed to make it better. Just like I love Sonic the Hedgehog, but there are things that can be changed and make it better. Like, yeah, like you should be able to critique things that you love.
From a place of passion for this anthropomorphic blue fucking hedgehog. Hell, I flew all the way to Paris to see the Sonic Symphony, and it was one of the best nights of my life.
I've never seen the Sonic Symphony. I hear a lot of good things about it from the fans, though.
And I'm going to see the show again in London, twice. I'm very excited for Sonic X Shadow Generations. It really seems like we're getting Shadow the Hedgehog done properly for the first time in years, and I love that. I voice these concerns simply because I want Sonic to be the best that it can be, because Sonic is really, really cool. Yes, being a Sonic fan has been good fun since 2022, with Frontiers and its expansion, and popping off in Paris when Tomoyo Otani took the stage, but can I say that Sonic is back? Maybe I can, but I can't say that he's here to stay. Maybe one day I will.
Okay, I mean, I agree overall. That tirade about anti-wokeness was just so weird. Okay, here's the thing. People have been saying that this guy's a grifter. I don't think he is. From what I can tell, I think he's probably just a normie who's kind of like clearly in the like anti-woke alt-right pipeline, but not like super. He's just like at the beginning stages, I would say. He seems like a pretty normal dude who just understandably has issues with a franchise he loves so much, but misplaces some of those critiques on things like DEI and shit like that. And it's like, I get it, you know? Like, I used to think like this at his age. I get it. You know, I didn't start like kind of educating myself and learning about stuff until I was 23. But you know, I don't think that this guy's like some horrible alt-right, like whatever. I think he's just, I think this is a great example of somebody who like just needs like kind of led in the right direction and have that understanding of like, yeah, you're right, like these are problems, these are things, but like, dude, it's not diversity that's the issue. It's not this, it's not, you know, not wokeness that's the issue. It's like, there are other things here, like let's talk about that. But, you know, just misplaced aggression, I guess, misplaced yeah, I'm not quite sure. Misplaced something. I'm not sure what the phrasing I'm looking for is. But I do know that people did not take kindly to this video and the comments. Now, so he does have this thing. He pinned this. I feel as though I should clarify my comments on Sonic 2's diversity quota, as it may seem over the top considering the video's subject matter. This stance is based on Paramount's track record with such mandates, specifically how they'll force it on a script, regardless of whether or not it fits. It's an industry-wide Hollywood issue, and okay, I thought he was gonna, like, be more reasonable, but okay, no, clearly not. Paramount has been shown to participate heavily in it, modern Star Trek being the main example. I understand it may come across as rather inflammatory for a Sonic video, but it's an issue I felt worth highlighting, as I believe it's a problem in Western media, and I wish Sega would exercise more control over their IP to prevent California nonsense infecting their scripts. Okay. Yeah, this is just a guy who's heard buzzwords and he's just repeating them. I really do think I don't think he's a bad guy. And I think, and again, another thing that I want to do a larger video on, this is a great example of not him, but like, okay. So I think a lot of the reason that we're in the situation that we are, culturally and everything, is because of smug liberals who would look at somebody like this, and rather than take the time to like explain to them and kind of hear them out and be like, okay, look, I get it, but actually this, would just act like they're a horrible monster and stuff like that. So, I think this is a great example where people like me can kind of come in and say, look, dude, I understand your issues. I really do. I get it. But this is not the issue. Like, Western media and Californian politics. I mean, this is like that dude who what was his name? Baby Heelface, who cried about like pronouns in that Star whatever game it was called. Starfield, Star Blazer, Star, I don't know, not my cup of tea, not my kind of game. But Star Force? I don't know, whatever. Yeah, it's like, dude, you're just like, I get it. I understand the critiques that you have. And hell, if you're watching this, I'll fucking speak to you directly. Wait, is your name Solaris? Did you name yourself Solaris from the Sonic 06 villain? Oh no, it's Silas OS. Okay, I was like, dude, that's actually kind of cool. Anyway, sorry. What is it? Silas? Silas. All right. If you're watching this, Silas, dude, like, I get it. I understand first of all, I understand wanting the franchise to be better than it is. I'm right there with you. And the points you brought up, other than the DEI stuff, are valid. Like, I'm right there with you. But I'm not going to go out and just say like I think you're racist. I don't think that's the case necessarily. You could be. I hope you're not. But I'm not going to just like ascribe that to you and assume you are. I think you're somebody who like you've heard, these buzzwords and stuff, and you're repeating them because you see, oh, diversity quota, like all this stuff, right? Which, I would agree to an extent can definitely be ham-fisted and cringe and like, tokenizing of minorities and stuff, 100%. But I feel like you're just kind of being led down a bad path, and I don't know. I hope that you get free from it and don't buy into this like anti-woke shit, because the issues that are with like Rachel and the wedding scene in Sonic 2, people don't like it because it's annoying. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're black. And I don't agree that they put human characters in it so that they could like fill a diversity quota. I don't think that's the fact. I think you're just confused, and I hope that you no longer are at some point. People have kind of been like shredding this dude in the comments. Sonic movies woke, pro unto nothing, diversity forced into Sonic. We're just gonna act like Sonic Unleashed isn't a thing or what? No, Sonic Unleashed, like globetrotting adventure, got to see so many different characters of it was really, they looked like Pixar characters of people in, they weren't called the actual countries that they were, but they were basically like Africa, Antarctica, you had some like tropical jungle country that was called oh my god, what was it called? I want to do this off the top of my head. I don't remember what it was called. I know it was called I know the level was called Jungle Joyride. I can't remember what the world was what the country was called. Well, in any case, that diversity has been there. Why does black characters have to do with Sonic Movie 2? No way you made a whole video and thought to yourself, yeah, people are going to 100% take me seriously when I talk about wokeness in Sonic the Hedgehog. respecting the IP. Oh, brother. Sonic cares about his friends in the games. No, 100%. Yeah, people have been kind of pushing DEI agenda as just a black woman playing character in a movie. Yeah, no. The thing is, like, oh, here, okay. Do we all remember that bit from Sonic Adventure DX in the manual where it says the only thing Sonic hates is oppression? No, 100%. Like, who's gonna tell what color Shadow is? To be fair, he's black and red. You didn't drop the ball, you threw it down. Bro's brain stopped developing years ago. Bro's not cooking. I mean, here's the thing. I'm glad that people are, like, speaking against this. Oh, this is a great point, too. Was it a DEI hire when Jaleel White played Sonic, or are we just making stuff up now? By the way, in my opinion, Anthony Mack, who's also a black man, plays Sonic in Sonic Prime, is, like, the best Sonic voice, at least since Griffith. Probably the best Sonic voice in general. Well, actually, yeah, no, he's really fucking good. And he's a black man. I didn't really like Sonic Prime in general. I liked the voice acting, but that was about it. The animation was good too, but just the plot and everything was just... No, I didn't like it. Plus, it's like a fucking alternate dimension thing, and I fucking hate the alternate dimension shit. I can't wait till that fad dies. But, you know, they did that kind of thing. Or multiverse, whatever. I hate that fucking fad. And then they didn't even have, like, a multiverse people would care about. They had, like, pirate Knuckles and shit. Like, it was stupid. It was, but, you know, it was very much, you know, made more for kids. Nobody talking about Knuckles, he'll explode. I don't agree that Knuckles is, like, black or black coded or whatever. I think he's just, you know, I mean, I get it, but I don't know. He's just, I don't know, whatever you want to think about him. Black family exists in movie, forced DEI. This is my issue with the talking point. How do you have diverse characters without it being perceived as forced? No, 100%. Because that's the thing too. Like, the dude said, what did he say up here? He said how they'll force it on a script regardless of whether or not it fits. What makes it fit? Like, what is the threshold for you to say that it fits? You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. People have mentioned as well, and I completely agree, that, like, there was a scene in Sonic X where Sonic, he was really cute. He pushed this girl in a wheelchair around all, like, the whole day, and, like, let her basically kind of live life like him, going really fast in the wheelchair, mind you, but, you know, so she could just experience it, and it was a really sweet moment. Yeah, no, this like, Sonic's character in the franchise and stuff has always, like, a lot of it has been about, you know, not diversity explicitly, although I do agree with Chowmix, who thinks that game Sonic, at least, is Arrow Ace. I do agree with that. But yeah, no, it's just like, dude, like, I get it, but no, diversity is not the issue here. So overall, though, I mean, he made good points in the video in general, just not the DEI stuff. You know, I don't really know what, I guess, real point I have here, just that if you find yourself, like, immediately jumping to DEI as the reason that a minority is in a piece of media, maybe examine it a little bit. Figure out, kind of think about, like, where does that idea come from? What type of media have you been consuming that make you think that's the case? What type of reviews or news channels or what have you? And I don't mean, like, Fox News and shit. I mean, like gaming news channels and stuff. Like, what have you been following? I don't know how this guy is a Sonic fan and feels this way, because, again, the Sonic stuff I follow, like, people are pretty progressive. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about that. So, I don't know. I think that this guy and people like him are just, you know, people who are confused and have misplaced their anger, their, you know, cynicism, whatever it is. And it's not, diversity is not the issue, man. Like, again, if you're watching this, like, I hope that you can do some, like, you know, self-analysis and everything. And if you agree with this guy, or you know people that agree with this guy, and think like this, you know, it's just, I think, try to, you know, explain to them in like, you know, kindness and understanding, and don't be a dick about it. I think these people are pretty good. Like, I don't see people, you know, necessarily calling him racist or what have you. They're just, you know, some of them might be insinuating it. And again, he might be. I don't know, but I don't know. It's wild. I don't know. It's just, like I said, when I saw this, I just knew I had to talk about it. And like I said, it gave me an excuse to talk about my favorite franchise. So yeah, that was fun too. But you know, yeah. In any case, and as always, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like. And if not, I hope you find something to do you like. Later, guys. Peace and love.